Hi, Socks.
And we're back with another episode of the Premier Planet Podcast in what has become a society driven into, I guess the word is, anarchy.
Oh, yeah, I have a heavy heart. I think we all do. But you know what? I'm going to go ahead and stay away from that as to not turn people off nor to bring us down any more than I already am.
Yeah, it's a sensitive subject to say the least.
What number podcast is this, Justin?
I think we're on 19?
Fucking 8. Doesn't feel like it, huh?
No. Every single week. That's the benefit of doing this every week. I mean, we're ahead of a lot of relatively new podcasts.
Yeah, man. Very appreciative of everybody listening and everybody that subscribes on Patreon. Very. You'll get it, And I feel like even though it's been a certain number of podcasts, we're still in the, what was that verbiage I gave you? They call it?
The beta test?
Beta! Yeah, we're still in the beta stage is the way I see it. But we've been spewing out some pretty good stuff and some rare stuff that you can't hear anywhere else from somebody's perspective that you can't really hear anywhere else either. And that's, again, due merely to the experiences. Having some big, giant balls to take some risks.
Yeah. And in the midst of all this bad news we've been getting from the media, we're getting great news this week because we're reopening our doors on Saturday the 6th.
Yeah, it's like we talked about before. It's like a soft reopening, But we've got too many people depending on us. I've got too many young guys counting on me to try to get them somewhere in this industry and develop and to try to grow a wrestling company. So, we agreed to 1 month, 30 days for this shut-in. I sucked it up. We all sucked it up, but not 4 months.
No. No, and we did what we could with the crowdless tapings, and I think we did really well.
We did fucking amazing, especially last week when we talk about Tim Castle and Jose Acosta in a 30-minute Ironman match.
My God. And if you're on Patreon right now, if you're only subscribed to us at the $1 level, it's going to be worth putting in your $3 a month just to see stuff like that, because those two guys, you can hear it in the commentary from both of us. I mean, that was all shoot. All those near falls, all those, oh my God, just out of nowhere kind of stuff.
Yeah, I literally got tired from the excitement of calling that one.
I think I even said that I owe those guys a thank you because they gave me a cardio workout just from talking.
Me too, and abs from shouting.
Yeah.
When you shout to that certain point where you deplete your lungs and diaphragm. Yeah. I got that a bunch of times too.
I think you even started dropping F-bombs, and you're just like, you know what? I'm just gonna go with it because that's what it's bringing out of me, and it was true. It was true. I mean, that was absolutely fantastic what those guys did on Saturday. So, if you're just hearing this at the $1 level on Patreon, we appreciate you, but trust us when we say it's going to be worth pitching in a couple extra bucks a month so that you can see stuff like that. You don't want to miss Tim Castle and Jose Acosta from this week.
No, man, that was something else. And again, I'll say it. I try to contain myself so it can stay relatively family friendly. When you and I commentate the matches. But in the same token, what keeps ringing through my head is these people that are established in entertainment on social media. Yes, people can smell through bullshit. So those guys just took that match to the point where I couldn't help myself anymore, man. I mean, yes, the foul language was flying because it warranted it, The other thing is...
one of the cats is pissed off, in case you're wondering what that sound is.
No, that was inquisitive. That was more inquisitive than anger. But you're not used to cats,
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was thinking about that today. And I was thinking about how the average match time these days is shit. It's 8 minutes, 12 minutes. It's like they're really putting in work.
Even some of your championship matches, look at pay-per-views that WWE puts on. Most championship matches don't go beyond 20 minutes anymore.
Yeah. And then you got all these guys out on the indies acting like they're accomplished or they've accomplished something because they did 12 minutes, you know. When I was working at the USWA and in Dallas, dude, there's been times, 30, 40 minutes was common. You worked a couple of times a week, 30, 40-minute matches along, in your 8 to 12 matches that you wrestled every week. You know what I'm saying? There was a time I was down there and I had to work as a goon squad member, goon number 1, against Robert Fuller. No, first it was Rock and Randy against Dirty White Boy Tony Anthony. I had to climb through one window or climb out one window to go to the heel locker room and change right away, back-to-back matches, and wrestle another 40 minutes with Robert Fuller under a mask. You know? So, what I'm saying is, it's funny to me how people today in the industry don't get it. They don't know how to do outside of that, and they don't know how to wrestle or perform without having their... They put more time into walking through a match than they do working a match. Why do our guys, are they able to do that? And most of our roster can do 30 minutes if you ask them to right now. You know what I mean? It's the conditioning. There's this weird, for one thing, there's this weird climate where guys are more concerned about being able to call themselves a veteran, and I'm past it. I'm not paying my dues anymore. You're always paying fucking dues. I got news for you. But the other thing is they don't work out in the fucking ring, and you can't wrestle once a month, twice a month, and consider yourself worth a shit. You got no timing, you know, and you can't just go there and quote unquote teach and beat up on the new young guys or the trainees. You know, you got to get in there yourself, and that's something I always had. You know, I always grasped that. Even if I when I came home and got old and started wrestling once a month, maybe twice a month, maybe, I always made sure I got my fucking ass into a ring. You know, I always made sure my ass did drills and bumps and all that other shit. And that's what's missing today, you know. I hear that common excuse that, people don't buy that today. How the fuck would you know? If you can't perform the art, the craft, how would you know if they'll buy it or not? Mm-hmm. You know? And how many concepts do we do, i.e., we're going to make this a part of our regular shit, especially this Saturday night. Because it ended in a draw, we're going to rematch in front of a crowd this time. 30-minute Iron Man match between Jose Acosta and Tim Castle.
That's going to be phenomenal. I mean, it was brilliant without an audience there. Mm-hmm. I can only imagine what it's going to be like when we actually have people watching live.
And energy for them to feed off of, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing is, you know, you never stop learning and you never stop paying dues, you know? I can remember stories of these guys that would beg me to work, Justin. Oh, can I work? Can't you book me when I worked for TNA? And I still had affiliation, or I guess I owned North American Wrestling Federation. And I cared about NAWF, you know, for a couple of reasons, but they would beg me to work, Justin. And then I would say, okay, fine, because they thought I could get them into TNA or something, get them on TV in front of their friends and family on the big grand stage, you know. And then I would get these reports that these motherfuckers would show up late, big timing them, and they'd see 3 or 4 people tearing up down the ring or setting up the ring and wouldn't even help. And it's not about being a bitch. It's about human decency. I'm always holding doors for assholes. I'm always asking somebody, do you need help with that? You know what I'm saying? And that shit goes out the window when it comes to this fucking imposed ego. At the end of the day, if we're not drawing money, myself included, you don't mean shit in the industry. The industry owes you nothing. You know what I mean? Where the fuck does common sense and common decency and courtesy go? You know?
It's out the window with most indie wrestling today because everybody's just looking to get themselves over.
Yeah, you know, unbelievable. And what happens to the ones that cause drama or discomfort, even on the grand stage of World Wrestling Entertainment? It's not long before the shit can, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's not tolerated for very long. I mean, Vince has a history of putting up with guys like that, i.e., Shawn Michaels in the '90s.
Well,
but
that's
it's
where he learned.
but it's because Shawn was a major player and a major draw back then.
Yeah.
If you're on the mid card or working in NXT or something like that, and you're bringing a bunch of drama to the table, I can't imagine that Vince or Hunter or whoever's running the show at the time is going to tolerate that for very long.
Well, look at that one team. I think NXT was at its hottest overall when Team Alpha, is that the name?
American Alpha.
American Alpha.
Chad Gable and Jason Jordan.
We're working with those other two guys. What's their name? Ascension? No.
The Ascension. You're talking about
the one that worked like Arn Anderson and kind of looked like Arn.
Oh, the Revival.
The Revival.
I can't remember what they're called in AEW now, but they were the Revival in NXT.
So look at how the mighty fell there. Those guys were out there working and being agented, and I knew it before I even got confirmation by Terry Taylor and by Adam Pearce. And I knew by their matches because they were telling a story. They were fucking getting so over, the four of them, for NXT that they both teams got called up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of those idiots from, what's the name of the team? Revival, spouted off some fucking drama on Twitter, and what the fuck happened? It was over before it started.
Yep.
Before they even started on the main roster, they had him branded. Well, we're gonna do this guy until the contract runs out. You know what I'm saying? So smarten the fuck up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember that feud between American Alpha and the Revival. I was really disappointed when they broke American Alpha up. What I saw with American Alpha was almost the second coming of the Steiner brothers.
Well, what they learned there was this. Now, you had Terry Taylor, who Terry is so experienced, Terry's a decent person. Terry's been around a long time, and even before he was ready, he always made it known in the industry 30 years ago plus that he was interested in understanding the business end, the booking end of the industry, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That got him into some trouble in the beginning. He got a lot of heat because he thought he was an ass kisser, a brown noser. That plus the fact that he was so good looking, he was fucking anything that, you know what I mean? He could, So then you got Adam Pearce, who he was looking to put a feather in his cap and do his job proper at NXT, which worked because look at where Adam is now. He's got a raise, and with this last string of layoffs, he didn't get laid off.
Yeah, and now he's got an on-camera role.
So Terry needed that motivation, that young energy coming from Adam to just trigger his knowledge and have him put his heart and soul into something. And they did it to those two teams. The problem was Adam was green, and for lack of a better term, Terry was burned out. So nobody taught those four the politics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they didn't know how to handle and stand up. Because, now that you mention it, I don't hear of Gable or his former partner very much.
Gable is, last I knew, he was on SmackDown Wrestling as Shorty G.
You see what I'm saying? That's how over they were. They proved that they could work together. They just had to find their proper way. And I'm not saying be an asshole, because you definitely don't need to do that. That's not going to work, i.e. look at the other team, the Revival. But you got to find the way to handle your politics, because that's what was best for business. That kid was good. That kid with the long hair and his partner were good. Last I saw, they cut his hair. He means nothing. You know what I mean? So that's what Vince likes. You've got to get through the bullshit of your agent, your producer, and the writer, and stand the fuck up. If history tells us one thing, Vince likes a guy that stands the fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
And I would rather do that and take that risk, you know what I mean, than have somebody say, like you said, when they were white hot, last I saw him. You know what I mean? Especially when you're young, Sadly, there's no place to make a living in the industry anymore, a good living, He's making a decent living on the undercard, or last I saw, but goddamn it, I mean, you don't get too many chances to get that kind of attention. You got to handle everything like a pro, like a thoroughbred,
Yeah, and I'm sure now the Revival, they're probably making a pretty decent paycheck in AEW, but we've said it before.
For
How long is it going to last?
For how long?
Exactly.
You know, and don't forget, I don't care what they're making at AEW. It's not the potential that you have or they had at World Wrestling Entertainment, where you're strategic partners and you get a percentage of everything. And God bless if you get over all that fucking merchandise sales. That's where your real money's made. AEW doesn't have that. You know, TNA was paying Kurt Angle, I think it was $650 or $675, between $600 and $675,000 a year. That was the guarantee. Kurt will go publicly and say, "This is great. I only got to work 4 times a month, and I'm making the same amount of money." And look what happened. You know what I mean? Look what happened. So there's just no legs to it, you know?
Yeah.
But whatever, it is what it is. I'm not here to smarten up the world, but I'm hoping that fans can appreciate this from the inside and see how it applies to our company, you know, Premier Pro Wrestling, as we try to get you emotionally invested, you know, into all the stuff, into, you know, the revenue streams, you know, YouTube, everything, you know. And I think we warrant that. I think the guys warrant that. They work hard. I don't deal with shitty attitudes. I'm not like I was anymore. When I was young, I used to think, okay, I've got to be able to beat the shit out of them, or at least get them to think I could beat the shit out of them if they act like an asshole. You know what I mean? There was a time when I could, but I'm old now. It's got to go a different route, and the way it goes with us is if there's an asshole in the bunch, he kind of weeds himself out.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because everybody's, at least if they get along on a personal front or not, focused, looking at things in the same way. It's a sport and a business. You know what I mean?
And we've had, well, at least in the 7 years that I've been around, we've had such a revolving door of guys. But the thing is that, you know, these guys come in, all of a sudden they think they're hot shit because they've, you know, worked a handful of times, and what they'll try, and then they won't hear what they want to hear. No. Then they'll try and turn everybody else against you, but what happens is that everyone else turns on them. Yeah. Because everyone who's had longevity there, who's had longevity on our roster, they understand how it works. Yeah. You can't have an ego, and that if you do what you're supposed to do, and you put in the effort and meet you halfway, as you said time and time again, then you're gonna get, you know, what you rightfully deserve. It's not going to come to you just because you think you deserve to have it come to you.
Yep, and you're going to get that exposure. If you warrant it, I will talk about your ass to World Wrestling Entertainment. If you're looking for exposure, well, shit, look at our YouTube subscribers and views versus what else is out there. You know what I mean? So it's not like people are getting nothing, but like you said too, meet me halfway. We literally tried something with a guy that, honest to God, did not know a wrist watch from a wrist lock. And I'm not going to say who, but oh my God. You know what I mean? And I learned a long time ago, today, when someone asks me, they always start with, sir. Sir, what the fuck, man? Don't call me sir. You know what I mean?
I was there one night. This was probably 4 or 5 years ago, but I was there one night when somebody came to a show and they wanted to talk to you in person about training, and they called you Mr. Richie, and right away you're just like, don't give me that shit.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean? You don't have to. I'm more laid back than that. But they serve me, and then they ask me, oh, could you critique my match? That's not what they want to fucking hear. They want me to fucking tell them how great they are or were. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I don't think I've ever had anybody ask me if you could critique my match that actually fucking meant it. Because as soon as I open my mouth, all of a sudden there's another enemy and more flaming and trolling on the internet. I'm like, what the fuck? I should have just said, no, I won't. You know? And every fucking time that happened, you know? Mm-hmm. People asking us if we can work there. Can you listen? Can you listen? If you will listen to me, it is my company. These are my ideas. I have no personal skin in the game. You're not putting me over. You know what I mean? You have to prove yourself to be in our roster. And if you prove yourself, like you said, you know, I will fucking more than meet you halfway. And I might be a lot of fucking things and, all the bullshit with people burying me or wanting to bury me. But the bottom line is I know this fucking industry. I know this fucking industry. I'm the first and only one that took Triple H's finish proper. And I don't think anybody's taken it that good since. Because they hired me to go out there and not steal on Triple H, which I could have. He was green as fuck. My job was to help get him over. And I understand that. I understood that. I was making a great living outside of that. You know what I'm saying? They weren't sold on the fucking move. He remembers that to this day. And that's why I'm taken seriously with the rest of the office there. And they'll tell you at the office, there is very, very few that they figure the juice is worth the squeeze when it comes to any kind of drama. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They know how we run shit. And I tell them, I try to run my shit like you guys run your shit because I want these guys to get to that level if or until we can become a viable alternative. And that way, even if they work for you and leave, they're going to leave on good terms, so they'll come to me and still mean something. You know what I'm saying? Keep the door open so they can go back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's and that's I think that's what PPW's always been branded as. It's been training first.
Yep.
A school. It's a wrestling academy teaching guys how to work in front of a live audience to prepare them for that next level. It's school preparing you for your eventual career.
Exactly.
Unless, like you said, we do become that viable alternative and we can give these guys a career.
Exactly. And you hit the nail on the head. Why don't you bring in this one? Why don't you bring in that one? Because that's not our mission statement.
No. It's not. I mean, it's nice to draw a big crowd. Absolutely, helps keep the bills paid. But that's not objective A.
Well, when you say big crowd, I'm going to go ahead and say big crowd means over 3,000 people. I've done that so many times in the past, and at the end of it, what have I accomplished, and how many hours have I put into this fucking thing? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I've earned anything I've ever made in wrestling, and I'm one of the few guys that didn't have any namesake that made a good living with wrestling during and after. I was like working for a territory. So, that being said, the usefulness is in producing talent, putting my thumbprint on people, teaching them what the fuck I have and what the hell I can remember from how the industry is really supposed to be. I don't care who it is and I don't care what indie company you're into. Every fucking one of them is only about ego. It's about their own personal ego. There's no team. There's no companionship. Mutual respect only goes so far. You know what I mean? And I can't believe the level of drama for a bunch of jamokes that are basically weekend warriors.
Yeah. Now, not every weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Let's be honest.
Once or twice a month weekend.
Exactly. The amount of drama and what they mean in their heads, And I keep hanging on to this. One of the things I've learned about, for example, Patreon and also this podcast, for example, it pertains to a lot of entertainment today in 2020. People smell bullshit. You know what I mean? That's what I was trying to get to earlier. We were talking about how I just busted into Rand being Rand in that commentary during that matches because fuck it. At some point, man, they got you're gonna see through bullshit and you're going to know the truth from the bullshit. And I was into that shit. I was emotionally invested, which I'm burnt. I don't want to watch wrestling. You know what I'm saying? And just like this today, and I think that people see that when they watch our stuff, when they watch our mains and semi-mains, when they come and feel it. I always get told all the time, oh my God, this is not independent wrestling. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
There was, I think when we first moved in the building, there was one night where Woodstock PD actually showed up for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I don't think they knew what was going on, so they were, why are all these cars out here?
Well, I'll tell you what about Woodstock PD. They had some issues in the media, I'd say 10, 15 years ago. But At that point, and most of your departments do, especially, your smaller town departments like Woodstock PD, the problem is it's a big deal in a small community when they have that kind of heat. And it blew over. You want to know why it blew over? Because they changed their motherfucking image. Did you even know they had some heat or controversy?
I didn't know that.
That's what I'm saying. You'd have to Google it, and it's so far behind, it's either all the way at the bottom now or on this next page, which nobody goes to on Google, okay? They carry themselves very well. I mean, they really took an oath. They have a leader, a chief, that is a leader and a chief, you know what I mean? And they came in and said, I don't know what the deal is, but somebody at the village has some sort of hard-on for you, so they sent us over here looking to see if there were parking issues so we could find a reason to cite you. And just so you know, we don't need fucking issue with you. This is awesome. We didn't know this was here.
I think they even said, wow, these guys are really good.
They stayed, dude, for like 2 matches after that, And that was a good feeling. That's what I love. You got politics and left and right in so many of these little villages and towns all over the country, and they really inhibit and fuck with business, These guys are just like, we're not stormtroopers. We keep the peace. We're peacekeepers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I love that. I fucking love that. I love that we're located in a town like that, Now, that regime that was ball breaking's gone. You know what I mean? But I just know that police department has done such a good job, Woodstock PD, that look at the situation. You didn't even know they had any fucking controversy. You know what I mean? I love it.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I mean, I've lived in Woodstock since October, and I mean, I love Woodstock. I mean, to be honest, I hate living in Illinois just because of all the political bullshit and whatnot, especially right now. But
yeah.
But I love Woodstock. If I could take Woodstock and transport it to any other state, I'd do it.
Well, here's something that I was just talking about with somebody today, okay? I would fucking love to relocate. I would love it, for me and my kid. My kid would have some culture shocks. I'd want to go to the Mid-South or Florida or Texas, right? The thing the reason that I don't do it is because all these things, these responsibilities that I have to our talent roster. What the fuck are they going to do? They can't move with me.
No.
You know what I mean? And to our fan base that actually comes and expects us to be there. I can't set up this shop somewhere else. You know what I mean? So I have responsibilities I have to live up to, and I think that people will meet us halfway when they see that. You'll see that when you are in the place even for a half hour. You'll hear that when you listen to our podcast. You'll see that if you go to YouTube. You'll see that when you get our t-shirts. You'll see that when you subscribe to Fibitcher. You know what I mean? It's heart, soul, we operate as a team. And at the end of the day, that's what's going to give us longevity. And when everybody's on the same page looking the same way, as individuals, as their individual self, with everything unique that each individual brings to the table, that's that's an unbeatable combination.
Totally. And the proof is all out there. I mean, even people who can't attend our live shows because of their location, they're following us on YouTube. They're following us all over the web.
Yep. I mean, you've been with PPW how long now?
7 years.
Okay. If I was full of shit, have I ever indicated to you that I was full of shit, that I'm in this for anything other than the things I say?
Oh, hell no.
Cool.
That's part of the reason I've stayed around is because, and I mean, I fell into those same traps that I think every quote-unquote indie guy falls into, no matter what his role is.
Yeah.
When I came in, I'd been watching wrestling for exactly 20 years, 93 to 2013.
Yep.
I thought I knew everything.
Yeah.
I thought I knew the ins and outs, but I learned pretty quickly, and a lot of that was from having to be humbled because I thought I knew more than I really did. I learned really quick that I didn't know shit. And even now, 7 years later, I've still only scratched the surface of what there is to know.
Well, I'll tell you, I get that way too sometimes. I've gotten that way. I haven't gotten that way since 2006. Okay? I don't get complacent. I don't take things for granted when it comes to sports entertainment, to my industry. Because I've worked in the ring with Dutch Mantel. I've worked on shows with Jim Cornette. You know what I mean? I've worked on shows and booked Luke Williams. But until you've worked with these motherfuckers on a TV until you work with scripting and finishes and gimmick matches and concepts, you don't know shit. You know what I mean? I would love the opportunity to work somewhere or to be able to hire, and this would make us fucking way over the top, Dutch Mantel for storylines, Luke Williams for goddamn match finishes. You know what I mean? Unbelievable. I'm smooth as a Ken doll compared to those guys. And I know that. You know what I mean? And I take half the stuff that you guys see or we do is in one way, shape, or form influenced by those guys, and I'll give them credit for that. You know.
Yeah. That's why we give guys like that a nod, because if it wasn't for them taking you under your wing, you wouldn't have the knowledge that you do, and you wouldn't have that knowledge to pass on.
And I didn't carry myself like, hey man, I'm here, man. You know.
Yeah.
For granted, we didn't have to set up the ring in Memphis. You know, there were times when we did or we would to help Paul Neighbors out when he was setting up the ring. Jerry Calhoun, fuck him. But no, I'm just kidding, Jerry. We were usually coming from the Nashville to Memphis side, so it would take like every fucking minute we had to get there in time. You know what I mean? But I will promise you, and Jerry Jarrett will fucking tell you, I bet he remembers it even now, I was the first motherfucker at the building. You know? The first motherfucker at the building. Mm-hmm. You know? All ready to go, whatever you want. You know? I love Bull Payne, Frank Vesey on Facebook. He's such a great fucking guy. He was one of the original Texas Hangmen. As a matter of fact, he incepted the gimmick. Him and Mike Moran were the Texas Hangmen that drew money in Japan and especially in Puerto Rico. And I remember we were in Memphis and they asked me to put him over on TV. This guy, you know, comes up to me. I'm sorry, man. I go, what in the fuck are you sorry for, asshole? This is your time. Someday will be my time, and I hope you show me the same grace I show you. Let's get your fucking ass over. That's the focus. I don't need to get my shit in. I'm not going to break your balls for doing the fucking job. Once you're finished, let's get it right. You know, that's what you got to have in the industry. You know, the guys that have that and get noticed, how many people can say they had Vince come up to them direct 3 times and say, I just wanted you to know I notice and appreciate what you do for this company. You know what I mean? It's the little things, you know?
And how many people had that same guy walk up to him, you know, in the mid-2000s and say, that's a fucking ugly jacket.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Vince knows me, and, you know, I woulda, coulda, shoulda, all that shit. But at the time, you know, in the 90s, the early 90s, I looked at it, I says, well, I have a business where I'm making $200,000 a year. If I could maintain my business with a competent manager and people to run it, I would love to get that namesake out there. But at the time, your mid-carders were only making about $90,000 a year, you know? And I know I was realistic enough to fucking know in 1992, 3, 4, 5 that I was never going to be a top guy in that era during my money-making years because of my fucking size, and that's how the business went. Mm-hmm. You know? Yeah,
it was wrong place, wrong time, almost, because back then it was a big man's game.
But no regrets. You know, no regrets. There's so many people I got my thumbprint on, you know, that have been there and done that, you know. Mm-hmm. And I never had any fucking regrets whatsoever about the decisions that I made because I learned so much from so many areas that, you know, I had one hell of a great run with my North American Wrestling Federation, and we're having a good run with Premier Pro Wrestling. It's just taking a little bit longer because we're starting with nothing, no seed money. When you start like we start, the best part about that is you don't have any debt, and B, you don't have an investor, venture capitalists, or angel investors to answer to. And it seems like, and you can check the not so distant history, when you don't have a money mark involved that's playing, that has the need to play live wrestling dolls, you're going to have a very pure product inside that fucking ring. And at the end of the day, the customer, the fan is number one. He's going to get the best that you have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not going to be watered down horse shit. It's going to be pro wrestling.
Yeah. I don't fucking get in there and make nobody put me the fuck over. I've been in the ring a handful of times since the inception of PPW, only to put other people over. You know?
Only twice since I started coming in February 2013.
You gotta lead by example and be willing to do whatever the fuck. How many times have you... Well, the other part of it is, too, with this bullshit. With the knowledge... some of the guys, and you could... This would be a great one for you to share with... I love how... When Justin posts us on YouTube, trying to get you to subscribe to Patreon, he puts on the thumbnail on the YouTube, and I love how he does that. Justin does a lot of fucking work, man. He works as hard... You work as hard, like I told you last night, as the guys, which is fucking great. It's a reason why I'm proud to have you on the team.
Yeah, I'm so appreciative to hear that.
And the guys are appreciative. Yeah, I mean, look at how they warmed up to you the last couple of years. You were fucking working your ass off. You know
I won Matt Vine over. Matt Vine is not a guy you win over easily. But in all honesty, Matt Vine's a good guy. He really is.
Hey, and Vine will tell you straight fucking. He's the first one to put you over and say I was a fucking cunt. You know? But anyway, Mark Henry. Use Mark Henry's pick. Because that's a guy, I think I've seen his name pop up a few times in the, like my Google page. When I go to Google to search the stories underneath, I see Mark Henry in there. Mark Henry is a brilliant fucking guy, man. What a fucking brilliant guy. And I heard nothing but outstanding things about Mark Henry. From guys at the top of the company to guys in the mid-card to the undercard. And I fucked with him a little bit. You know, he got a great sense of humor, man. I fucked with him a little bit at WrestleMania. What was that one in Chicago?
22.
I fucked him a little bit there. He was he's a gracious motherfucker. You know? He could snap your fucking neck like nothing. You know? And I love people like that, like fucking Ming. You know, Tonga or King Haku. He could kill you just to look at you, but he's not. He's a sweetie. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't say that to his face like that. But but
I kind of would like to see that, though, just to see what would go down.
Not now, bro. I'm too old. You know? But anyway, I might be able to recover from a Ming or Haku beating when I was in my 30s, up to 35. I couldn't recover. No, I'd probably be dead. You know? But anyway, Mark Henry, man, he comes into this business. He was the first person to get a guarantee from World Wrestling Entertainment because of all the build-up and expectations put on a young fucking guy to win the gold medal that year in the Olympics. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what happened. I knew it, but I don't remember. But it's irrelevant. Whatever happened, the politics got in Mark's fucking head, and I think he bronzed. You know, he didn't win. You know, or maybe placed. I don't know. He either bronzed or placed. But there's so much into it. It's very rare that your Olympic gold medalist, unless they're fucking natural, whatever they do, gets that gold the first time in. You know? They go back and train another 4 years so they know what to expect to get their gold. You know what I mean? Yeah. Unless they're a gifted motherfucker. You know what I mean?
Well, I think when Kurt Angle won his gold, he was already 27, 28 years old, which is you know, really it's old for Olympic competition.
Yes, but at the end of the day, I think if you look at all sports, even the ones that aren't, you know, the popular ones in the Olympics, that sounds about right with the age group, because that's when you're emotionally mature and you can do all this stuff, and Mark could do all that stuff. He was the world's strongest fucking man, but he was a young guy that needed that experience and that emotional, mental maturity. You know what I mean? So they're up his ass, all that pressure, and he gets the contract, and then Vince publicly says, we really fucked up. Boy, are we disappointed. Well, now you got a fucking guy who's under contract, you got to pay him, and you're pissed off about it. And if memory serves, they mistreated that motherfucker when they first signed him. You know?
Yeah, he didn't do... He came in 96, and he didn't really do anything for, I don't even know how many years.
And then how many times over... Now, the contract runs out, okay? The guarantee runs out. I can't remember, but it was the first, guarantee, maybe the first guarantee to a new signing for WWE. Maybe a guarantee, the first guarantee to someone green, you know what I mean? But it was a huge guarantee, and they fucked with him. you know, the whole time is, I want to say it was a 4-year deal. You know, maybe 3. I don't remember now. But anyway, this motherfucker looks around and says, son of a bitch. He opens his mind. He's humble. He's listening to your Undertakers. He's watching how people act. Well, he's listening to the Undertaker. There's only one motherfucking Undertaker. But the agents that they had there then, he watched, he learned, his agent, and he said, motherfucker, if I put my mind to this, I know I can fucking do it and do it fucking great and make a shitload. So he re-signs, fraction of the guarantee, you know what I mean? And makes more fucking money. You know, how many times have we seen Mark Henry pinned over the last 15 years?
Not many.
No, you've seen him pinned a lot.
Oh, over 50. Sorry, but for some reason my brain skipped over the 15 years thing.
So here's the point I'm trying to make with Mark Henry, and I hope our guys hear this. Mark fucking Henry does what is asked of him. Mark Henry does what is best for the fan, the customer. Mark Henry does what it takes to get over, okay? Mark Henry can work with anybody at that size, which is really saying something, okay? And he does whatever he does in the ring unselfishly. He's been beaten by how many guys? Kane, Undertaker. I mean, those are the ones off the top of my head, okay? But because of the way he fucking is, he'll still be paid. They'll send him down to, like, at the time it was OVW or NXT or somewhere. They'll keep him on the house shows, all that shit, so he has the timing. And then they bring that motherfucker back and build him up bigger than the last time. Mm-hmm. Because of the way he handled his politics. And he learned the hard way. You know what I mean? And now, I mean, I would not be surprised if at some point he's really going to have a high-ranking position in that company as an agent or non-talent.
Well, they put him in the Hall of Fame, I think, either last year or the year before.
Was he still working?
No.
Okay.
He hung it up after 2014, I want to say, maybe 13. His last major run was a main event run against Cena during one of Cena's final title runs.
Wow, I bet it was fucking compelling too.
Yeah, but if you look at it, and you're right. I mean, it was such a gradual. I mean, over about 20 years or so.
Yeah.
But it was a progression. He started his very first match. He was working with Lawler.
Yeah, it was poor King. But and I'm not digging on Henry. He was fucking green and he wasn't happy.
Yeah.
You know.
He's working with Lawler, and then there were like 4 years where he was just kind of stagnant, hovering in the mid card. They put him with the Nation, and he got over a little bit.
That's a rib, though.
In
man.
the Nation, yeah.
That was just a rib. They were trying to justify the fucking expenditure. They weren't happy. He wasn't happy.
But then, if you fast forward to like the mid 2000s, he's working WrestleMania with the Undertaker.
Yep.
Fast forward about 5 more years, he's carrying the world title. He goes over on Orton for the world title.
Jeez.
Has a few months of program then with Orton and later Big Show.
Yeah.
And then, fast forward a couple more years, they go to this angle where, he's going to announce his retirement, and that was a ruse so he could sucker Cena in and attack Cena and get in the main event spot and compete for the title.
How long did Cena and him work for? How long did that angle or storyline
It wasn't long. It was 2 or 3 months, I think.
But I bet wait a minute, that's when they finally the internet finally started to get behind Cena, right?
I think so.
See? Who the fuck? See what I'm saying? Who's a part of it? The guy in that motherfucking ring giving unselfishly for the betterment of Cena, the company, and number one, the fan, the customer.
And it gave Cena another mountain to climb. Because he had gone through pretty much every big man in the company.
And how many times has fucking Mark Henry been beat? Again, up to that point. They built him up. He knew how to build him, how to let himself be built up. He knows how to handle the bullshit and bridge the gaps between the agent, the producer, the writer, and Vince himself. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, to our guys or anybody with half a fucking brain, do you think that guy goes out there and works with a fucking ego? In the beginning, you could see the ego. He didn't get over it. But he learned, well, shit, if I just humble myself and listen and realize that I pay my dues in weightlifting, I got to pay my dues in this shit, gain respect of my peers. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Listen, learn, walk the walk. He fucking did it. And now he's a fucking retired millionaire. He probably don't have to work again a day in his life if he doesn't want to.
Doubtful.
You know? So, you see what I'm saying? You can see that when you watch the shit. Just like when you watch our shit.
Yeah. And that's one thing that sets our guys apart from other quote-unquote indie wrestling, is that the individual is, I don't want to say they're not trying to get over, but
no.
they're not putting them getting over trying to get the other guy over. It's about, how do I make the other guy look good? And when you have two guys with that same mentality in the ring together, i.e. Jose Acosta and Tim Castle, it's magical. It's fucking magical.
And I love how Tim looks at the concept stimulated. He works and wants to work that Japanese style. He wants to go work in Japan. You know? He will get there at some point. He's going to have to be patient. But I think he looks the fucking part. He's good looking. He's put together. He's growing. His body's growing. You know what I mean? Look at the legs of that motherfucker. And he's finding a great way to work that style and make it make more sense than your current round eyes over there. So watch what happens in 3 to 5 years, you know? Then you've got a Jose who's 30s, a dad, a Vietnam veteran. I'm sorry. Whoa! No disrespect. A Navy veteran who looks at that and goes, oh, yeah, I want to learn. You know, to go out there and do that goddamn concept. And the way we do it, you used to see an Iron Man once in a great fucking while, and only a couple of people could pull it off. My goal is to have fucking half the roster be able to do that shit and be compelling.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And Jose stepped up. Did he step up like a motherfucker or what?
He stepped up like crazy, and I think that was after being really nervous about trying to do it.
That's the kind of thing I'm saying about, or talking about. He'll go, oh, you know, but just like I would. But then you go, no, I want to learn. You know, I want to learn as much as I fucking can. You know.
Well, look at the Olympiad freestyle he had with
God,
Tim. He was shitting bricks about that. He wasn't sure he wanted to do it. They went in there and it was fantastic.
But who pushed him and believed him and said, okay, I see your fear, I see your concern, but I also see in that fucking look you're giving me, I wonder if I can do that. You know what I mean?
And that boils down to trust. It's trust in whoever you're in the ring with. It's trust in your trainer.
Yeah.
And that's
you're
where,
agent in that scenario.
Yeah, that's where a guy like Jose gets it. He realized, like, okay,
yeah,
I don't really want to do it, but you're putting your faith in me. You're giving me some guidelines, so I'm going to go in there and do what I can.
Exactly. And
usually, it's not just Jose. Most of our guys, they over deliver.
Yeah, which is fucking phenomenal. I used to too. You know, there's a fine line, and they're starting to learn. And Vine is just starting to learn. When you over deliver, sometimes you look like it, and you don't get over. You lose them. You know. It sucks when you have the fans and then lose the fans. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess what I mean by over-deliver is...
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying this is something you should know, and you know, fans should know. You have to over-deliver without looking like you're trying so hard.
That's what I was getting at.
And again, it goes back to that lesson I learned about, and I think it will pay off for us eventually. Today in 2020, people can smell bullshit. You know what I mean? We have a more awareness of bullshit than we did in my day. You know?
Mm-hmm. Cool. And that's where I think so much indie wrestling gets it wrong, because, you know, it's especially in Chicago, because the people want to be entertained. I mean, if you're going to have a wrestling program and not try and entertain people, I mean, you're wrong for going about it like that. But the thing is that so many fans, they call themselves wrestling fans, but what they really want to do is be entertained. They want the drama. So really what they are is they're entertainment fans who have chosen facets of professional wrestling as their form of entertainment.
Yeah.
But and you know, and I've said this, and you know, I've taken shit for it, but you're not a wrestling fan unless you're watching it for the wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're just an entertainment fan who's chosen pro wrestling as your form of entertainment.
But it takes all fans. You know what I mean? It takes all
Yeah.
fans. Your casual fan, your smart or educated fan, your casual fan. I mean, that's there's a lot of money in that market too. What's very hard is to appeal to all of them, and I think we do a pretty damn good job. You know, I can look out in that crowd and see your way educated internet fan over on this side, and then I see a family over there, 2 generations, maybe 3 sometimes, grandfather, father, and son, fucking doing the same shit, reacting the same way as your most educated fan on the other side of the ring.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I go, that's what this shit is about.
And you know, one of my favorite things is when we have somebody who's been around to so many of our tapings, and our guys can still get them to pop.
Mm-hmm. They're not sick of them yet. You know?
Exactly, because they know they're always going to see. It may be the same guys, but they're always going to see something that's at least a little bit different.
There's no fucking hammered shit on the roster.
No,
You know?
not at all. And now, I mean, there's so many guys who have taken these crowdless tapings and just have started to run with it. I'm excited to see what a rookie like Charlie Hustle can do in front of a crowd.
I am too, because he's fucking almost got he's almost crowd phobic. You know, people. You know what I mean? So it's going to be great to see what he can do this Saturday night.
Then you got, not bad Chad, who's established in front of a crowd, but still these crowdless tapings really helping him.
His work rate.
His work in the ring.
Athleticism.
Like him, love him, or hate him, you got to tip your hat to Poncho in that aspect too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited for what's to come on Saturday. And so what do we have on Saturday? The main we've got Not Bad Chad and Poncho
Not Bad Chad versus Poncho.
I guess you could call it a grudge match.
Yeah, it's been going on for a while.
We've got what was the? Oh, we've got
Challenge Pro Cup is on the line.
We've got the Challenge Pro Cup, but before that, we've got the rematch, the Iron Man rematch, Jose Acosta and Tim Castle. 30 minutes.
To see that in front
30
of the
minutes, and I think that's going to be really, really damn good.
Yeah.
And then in the main, it's going to be the Challenge Pro Cup. Matt Vine, who's still not at 100% after being in that car accident, is going to put the cup up against Chase Gosling, Andy Nestra, 2 guys who have held the cup before and 2 guys who have beaten him for titles in the past.
Yeah, so it's that, we got that concept match main eventing too. We are reinventors of triple threat wrestling. We really fucking are.
Mm-hmm.
And we're coming up on a 50-minute mark, 50 and change.
We're over 50.
All right, flew again. Mm-hmm. What I'm going to do is
that's why we don't script this stuff, people. We just let it flow and look where it gets us. It gets us to 50 minutes an hour 15 minutes.
And if we were scripted, you'd smell the bullshit.
Exactly.
But we're pimping, okay? We're pimping our product. Obviously, we got to get this thing over. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But we're trying to give you your money's worth. Don't just throw money at us because we're the poor fucking Indy shit. We are really the underdog. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
But at the same time, we want to earn
it. That's what I'm saying.
We want to earn your trust, and we want to earn what you give us.
Yes, we work hard. I mean, we got the hardest working roster of any independent company that I know, but I've heard a lot of people say, oh my God, I can't believe how hard your guys work, that are in and around this industry for decades. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I work just as hard, and you know that. You know what I mean? Because you feel the pain. You know what I mean? But I'm still here. You and my daughter, Gianna, are part of the reason why I stay jacked up. You know what I mean? Between the lines.
I'm glad I can do that
Sometimes if you guys can just hear, don't blow smoke up my ass, but affirm me and say, yeah, I would be aggravated too. That means the fucking world.
Yeah.
At the proper time.
As it is for anybody who's dealing with stress or any kind of emotional disability. All you really got to say is, that sucks. But if you want to talk, I'm here for you.
That's cool. Maybe this all this therapy's finally working.
Yeah,
I do see a shrink and a therapist.
Oh my God, I am such a huge advocate of therapy and counseling. I mean, I'm in counseling myself with all the personal bullshit that's come my way over the last year, and it's seriously one of the greatest things I've ever done in my life.
Yeah, I've been in it off and on since I was 16 years old, with a lot of focus on the last 5 years. But that's good, and it really does come out in this product, too. Honest to God, it helps me it removes a lot of the blocks and barriers so I can put my heart and soul into this shit. Because, when you say, I will meet you halfway, and then you meet them to have to meet them halfway and mean it takes a lot. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I never expect anybody to work harder than I do, or ask anybody to do anything I haven't done inside that ring. Mm-hmm. You know, as far as health goes too. You know.
Yeah, and it's your own experience playing out in the way you train.
Thanks, man.
And it shows because it's a ground up approach. You're not going to see somebody who's the size of say Inestra, who's that luchador size, and say, oh, you know, he's the right size. I bet I could teach him to do a moonsault in his very first match.
Actually got his basics down,
Exactly.
And not till we got his body in shape enough to do that shit. Mm-hmm. That's when you get hurt. If you work once a month and you twice a month, 3 times a month, even 4 times a month, you know, you're not in shape enough to do that. If something goes wrong, you go too far left or too far fucking right. You know what I mean? You only got so many of those left in you. We're fucking doing thoroughbreds without drug issues, without gambling issues, without alcoholism, and focused on the goddamn fitness level. You know what I mean? So if you can't even get through the drills yet, I won't fuck with you. But, you know, that being said, when you're with the group of our guys and you've seen it happen, come on, man, you can get through this. You can do it. You can do it. Every motherfucker. And then when they get to it, the look of pride on their face, and then when the assholes are applauding them, that's what I'm in this for.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. And it shows. I mean, guys who are in there helping you train, guys like Matt Vine, they're not gonna bullshit anybody, but at the same time, they're going to be a coach.
Exactly.
They're going to try to help get you to that point that you need to be.
Yep.
Sometimes they're going to have to chew your ass out, but most of the time it's going to be nothing but encouragement.
Exactly. So let's close this thing up. And what is so special about the Challenge Pro Cup being on the line this weekend, meaning the entire, you know, the concept?
The Challenge Pro Cup. I mean, I'm going to venture to say that right now where we are is probably the most conceptually appealing concept that we have. Because not only is it a triple threat championship, it's always defended in triple threat. Now you have, not only is the champion up against the wall because he doesn't even have to be involved in the decision, but now you have that added aspect of you can win simply by tossing a guy over the top rope.
Yep.
And I mean, that just, you got to have eyes all over your head, whether you're the champion, whether you're one of the guys challenging for the cup. And that Challenge Pro Cup used to be a once-a-year thing.
Yeah.
But it was so compelling that it deserved to be a secondary championship.
And you know, I've had this vision of triple threat wrestling for decades. Probably 20 years, honest to God, Justin. Where I wanted to have an entire organization where all the matches were triple threats. Then I wanted to get a 6-sided ring, you know, and I wanted to use the 6-sided ring only for triple threats or 12-man tags or 6-man matches.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Someday we'll get to that point when we have the revenue, but can you imagine what the fuck we could do with something like that?
That, you know, that gives me something to look forward to because I would love to see that.
Everybody would, you know, this time, done right in this day and age.
Yeah.
All right, man, close it off. Please check out the end card. Figure out how to support us. Keep supporting us. We're going to keep working our asses off.
Absolutely. And we got a podcast coming to you guys each and every week. Thus far, without fail.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep them coming your way. Remember, it's just $1 a month to get every podcast in its entirety. And then for $3 or $5 a month, you get all these exclusive matches you can't find everywhere else. Sometimes it's available to both $3 and $5. Other times, only to $5.
Yep.
But right now,
get you some shit you won't see anywhere else too.
Right now, you can see Jose Acosta and Tim Castle in that extremely exciting Iron Man match on both $3 and $5 tiers, and just keep an eye out. You know, Rand has said it so many times, but it always bears repeating because it's true. We are trying to give you what we can to make your investment in us. So that's how we're seeing it. We're not seeing it as you giving us money. We're seeing it as you investing your faith in us. Every penny, every dollar you guys give us is a show of faith in us, and we are doing everything we can to make that worth your while with the resources that we have available.
Yeah, you essentially become executive producers or co-producers, you know?
Yeah.
And we got more tiers coming. We'll talk about when we get to that point, once we sort through all this Corona shit and get back on our feet, with a Shirt of the Month Club as part of things, too.
Yeah.
And also possibly a live event discount and also discount on our streaming service.
Yeah, and speaking of streaming, we're in the early stages of sorting out ways where we can bring you guys, once a month, live tapings to Patreon.
Yep.
We're in the early stages of trying to figure out what kind of technology we need.
I know
what kind of hookups we need.
Yeah, we need this is going to tell you how old I'm going to date myself this one. We need what they used to call a fire wire, but it's got to run from the camera to wherever. But we are going to be able to offer this shit to you guys on Patreon live as it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And it's seriously not that far away. It's just about acclimating and getting everybody back in ring shape and mentally, make it habit again where we can, deliver the content to you every week.
Right now the thought process is going, but everything is kind of on hold just because we got to get back to where we were before the whole Corona shutdown.
Exactly, and that's the way we train even, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Life says, and Rand didn't make this up, first you learn to roll, then you learn to crawl, then you learn to walk, then you learn to run, then you learn to jump, then you learn to fly. That's life. That's not me.
Yep.
Yeah,
and we're gonna have to, got to take a couple steps back to get back to where we were before the whole shutdown happened.
It's about conditioning as well,
Yeah, but once everything is back to the way it was, I think it's not going to be long before you guys really start seeing a lot of new things and a lot of new innovative things coming your way.
Even on a tech front, even though I forgot to talk about that, a day doesn't go by since I brought it up to you, that I don't think about it.
Yeah, and we're always talking about, what can we do better for not just our patrons, but for the fan base in general.
Exactly, and without reinventing the wheel, because nobody got time for that. All right, I'm going to say bye-bye now and give you the last word.
Mm-hmm. We should really call this CPW, Compelling Pro Wrestling, because that's what we're trying to bring your way. Ooh. But we thank you guys again for being our supporters here on Patreon. Again, keep your eye out. We got a lot of new stuff coming your way, and don't forget to check us out on all of our social media and all of our streaming, and check us out on Pro Wrestling Tees. We still got some new shirts, I think, that are
cool shirts.
that are coming your way in the coming months and over time. So thank you guys again, and we will see you next week for the podcast, and hopefully see you this Saturday when we return to our live tapings in Woodstock.
Yes.